All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Ethan, I'm sorry.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Oh, good morning, sir. Appreciate everybody showing up today, which will be our last meeting before the status report is filed next week. We got about 20 folks or so we can go ahead and get going. Just as a reminder, I am recording this. Just a couple things to hit today. Jacob, did you want to start off with the revisions you made to the straw, or whatever we're calling it these days?
Sure. And we can have whatever name we want for it. So really, just really one, I guess, focus change that we made. And this was following up on discussions last week around annual filings versus DSP filings. How does that then get reflected in an annual technical conference? Who's talking about what in each of those situations? So tried to break out at least kind of how we were thinking about what would a utility talk about on those annual basis that's every year, and then what would they talk about when they file their DSP. And obviously when they file their DSP, that would be in addition to those annual topics. So the DSP would include everything that's listed. And then we just also broke out the pieces that would be the focus of the annual non-DSP filing. So that's really about any lessons learned. That's about any updates to the utility roadmap and making sure, communicating any continued progress there. Any relevant updates to some of the system constraints and prospective solutions that have been discussed during the last DSP. And any updates in general towards any projects or programs that were presented. So really just using it, trying to highlight. It's really about some of those just iterative changes, iterative improvements, bringing up some of those updates, while then the DSP, in addition to all that, really hits on the actual distribution system plan, going through all those steps, summarizing the steps that were accomplished, what is the feedback to or was the response to feedback received in some of those steps? What is the DER and load forecast and some of those system constraints? So really just tried to break out what was already there into those two sections.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Any thoughts, responses, questions for Jacob? Go ahead, sir.
There you go. Hi, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, just two things. One, Jacob, is that 3.1 or 3.2 that you're referring to? I have 3.1. I'm not sure I've seen 3.2, but things have been a little crazy lately. So,
it should be 3.2. I think it was what I had sent out last week.
Okay, I got from last week. I got some additional comments on the load forecasting thing, but I don't think I saw it. Anyway, I'll check again, but maybe. I don't think I have 3.2, but okay. But Judge McLean, this raises one question that I have, and I haven't quite finished comments. I will be sending you comments today on the draft, but thank you for that. But you, in the draft report and in a number of places throughout it, in the draft report, in the index, for example, you list all of the technical areas that are the JADE related, block 1, block 2, etc. areas. You list them under the straw man.
Okay.
And that's actually not the way things really are, right? Okay.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the important point is that the straw man, which we've all worked on for a lot now, and the utilities have been, the leads in getting it right, is the map for the steps in the process by which the plan will be developed. But it's not the place that contains the technical content that we've all been talking about since phase 1, really, but phase 2 and phase 3. Those are the JADE related, and most of the discussion in phase 3 has been oriented around the comments that the utilities made, and then additional comments, ours and others, that were made either in writing or during the discussion. But those are JADE specific, and those are related to the technical content that would be proposed for regulations, and that's very separate from the straw man. So I think it's important that be, it's also intermingled in the text a lot. And so as you go through, even down to page 26 or so, there's mention of this is in the revised straw man. We're talking about, there are some areas like scenarios where it does directly interact with the content that is listed in the straw man, but because they list the 3 scenarios as the utilities propose them, but most of the other technical content is named there, but it's not detailed there. And so we lose all of that detailed discussion if we only have the straw man as our product.
All right. I will separate those out then. I'll do my best to do that, and everybody will get a second bite at the apple on that.
Great, thank you.
Jacob, did you guys send the most recent version? I guess would be on Halloween, because David was just asking about it.
Yeah, it would have been on the 31st. Did other folks get it?
I received it, I believe.
Who was it from?
I think I was the one that sent it this time.
I did not receive it.
I just forwarded it to both Dr. Bartlett and Mr. Cathan.
Now, to be clear, I just went back and checked. Yeah, it's in the same email as the that set of comments on load forecasting. They're there together. For some reason, it just didn't show up.
Yeah, it looks like, Mr. Cathan, looks like you were on the email. dcathan@gmail.com. And it was sent October 31st at 4:30. Go ahead, Al. Do you have anything else, sir?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
That's no problem. All right, Samarit.
Hi, good morning, Chuck. Good morning, everyone. A clarification maybe from Jacob about planning cycles versus planning horizon. So I'm assuming, the 2 to 3 years cycle would still include the short-term, medium-term, long-term planning information. Is that correct? Yeah. Oh, you're muted, Jacob. So I just wanted to add. So as I was reading it, I know we had a lot of discussion about, what should the planning horizon be? Should, how many years of planning information should it include? So while I was reading, the Exelon, the utilities strawman, I was like, are we on the same page on this? So I wanted to understand better, like each cycle that would be filed every 3 years include those planning timeframes?
Yeah, so the proposal isn't to just plan for the 2 to 3 years on that 2 to 3 year cycle. We'd be completing a full distribution system plan process, which includes that medium and long term horizons, but completing that on a 1 to 3 year cycle depending on the utility and filing it. So yeah, not focusing just on that 3 year window.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else? I know Mr. Cathan said you just found it, so maybe we can circle back. But does anybody else have any comments, questions, concerns on the updates to the utility straw man? Everybody happy with it? Samarit, you got a question?
I did. So I wanted to, I was hoping Gandry would be here. We've provided some feedback. We're hoping maybe, I think Jacob touched on it a little bit, but a stakeholder engagement plan that could be either part of the filing requirements, maybe a section included in the plan itself, I know we had a lot of discussion about public conferences and everything, but what does that engagement look like? And we've only heard from the Exelon utilities. We haven't heard yet from PE or SMECO. So we're hoping maybe there would be like a more structured approach about how stakeholders would be engaged in this process. And that could be a filing requirement, a section dedicated in the plan itself. So just wanted to touch on that, and perhaps I will address some of our comments later.
I'll add from the report, and then obviously if PE and SMECO have certain specific things they want to weigh on. But we did have in the filing, a piece of it would be a summary of the stakeholder engagement. So I think that very much would kind of capture the spirit of it, of like, if the utilities, developed a stakeholder engagement plan, we would then be summarizing, what stakeholder engagement did actually occur, whether it was, we worked through an RFI process on our website, whether we, held customer meetings, all these different things. I think we had that as one of the bullet points, and just looking at it briefly, it may have actually got subsumed into a previous bullet, so we could certainly pull out the summary of the stakeholder engagement as its own bullet again to make sure it's reflected. But I think that was part of the original thought, was that the utilities would report out on what stakeholder engagement that they did. And so as they develop that plan and implement that plan, in that report, they'd then be reporting on what were the results of that.
Go ahead, Dr. Bartlett.
Yeah, thanks. I just took a quick look at 3.2, and it looks fine, except on page, let me go back to it. I have to find it. There it is. On page 9, I believe, where it talks about step 6, where under it says this is where results and feedback and from step 4 and step 5, the technical conference will be considered. Then under B, where it says what the utility, it says what is will utilities evaluate? So there's an extra word in there, but it mentions feedback received from stakeholders during step 4. It doesn't mention step 5 feedback from the technical conference, either from stakeholders or any comments or orders from the commission. I think that needs to be in there.
Yeah, we can update that to reflect that. We had updated it.
Right, it's updated elsewhere.
In that beginning paragraph, but we can update that piece of it.
Yeah, just for consistency, yes.
Okay. So with that change and answer to Samara, are you looking just for, did you find Jacob's explanation sufficient?
Yes, I did. But I thought that would be for, that's my understanding of how the Exelon utilities would approach stakeholder engagement, right?
Right.
So I think I would appreciate a more structured kind of, I like how it is now. It's very descriptive, but like a section dedicated in the plan itself. Maybe we could put together a filing requirement. A plan, a DSP plan should include how a utility would approach stakeholder engagement. But a section that would include public conference and written comments. Like I think we've just discussed what comments would be incorporated at what point, so something like that.
Are you looking for that to be more in the regulations? Is that what you're kind of suggesting? Or
in the plan itself? So we're talking about forecasting, alternatives analysis, and then a stakeholder engagement plan is something that should be included, I'm hoping.
Right. I don't think that, it didn't sound like that was a tough sell for Exxon. Is that correct, Jacob?
Yeah, like I said, we were pretty much, since we'd be filing the plan more or less after we've done stakeholder engagement, we're framing it more as like a stakeholder engagement summary to capture, what was the engagement that we did.
Right.
But we had that as one of the parts. And like I said, it may have just in some of these edits got subsumed into one of the previous bullets, but it is a bullet in there around, that would be part of the plan, is a summary of stakeholder engagement that occurred.
Right. Okay. And I get that, and I'm sure that's not a tough sell for PE or SMECO, but Samrit, that's not what you're after. That's correct.
It is, but
But-
I think Jacob raised a really good point that, they would be filing something, and then, the plan would, there would be an initial filing, after which stakeholders would get an opportunity to comment and participate in, and then there would be another plan, right? A revised plan, or another plan after 2 years. There would be an initial plan on which parties would comment on, right?
Sure.
So that plan, either that plan or in the guidance, I think we should include like how each utility would approach stakeholder engagement, is what I'm thinking. If PE and SMECO agree to the Excel on Utilities approach, that could be workable too. Is that helpful at all, Chuck?
I don't know, because I know Jacob's saying, they'll follow the plan and they'll detail what they've done in terms of engagement. But are you so it sounds like you're looking for something, okay, so, because when they file their initial plan, in theory, all the feedback will have been received already and all the engagement will have already occurred. But it sounds like you want to know what they're doing up front before they file their plan. Is that
right? So how is the stakeholder engagement going to look like during the whole, I think, exercise is what I'm hoping to see. A structure of some sort. So that's what I'm thinking. I don't know how to phrase it, but yeah, initially they would still file something, right? That would be when, before they do anything, there would be an initial filing. I'm hoping, or how does the process start?
Well, I mean, I would think, I don't know that there's going to be like a kickoff filing, PE or PHI, we're doing our distribution system plan now, and this is how we're going to engage the public. I mean, I would imagine that they would just, start doing things, and without, I guess there could be some kind of kickoff notice.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Judge. We would start the process, right? Recognizing, we're starting that DSP process. We would go through the stakeholder engagement, as we have in step 1 and step 2, which would result in the DSP filing in step 4, where we would capture, a summary of that stakeholder engagement. I think something that we've talked a lot about with this is very much an iterative thing. And I think those spaces for feedback within the technical conference, within a commission order, can also be around some of the process, right? In the sense of if there's interest from parties of, other ways that we should be considering stakeholder engagement, other ways we can improve that process as well. I think that's certainly feedback that we would, be open to. We can then incorporate that for that next cycle of a DSP. We can look to evolve our stakeholder engagement process, because I think, with all of this, we very much see it as, and that's even a piece within the filing that we have of like what's lessons learned and what's process improvements that we've had from the last cycle, right? And I think that's very applicable to the stakeholder engagement pieces. Is we go through it, we do it, we see how well it went, what was successful, what wasn't successful in that stakeholder engagement. We also then get feedback from others around it, and then we're able to iterate and continue to improve on it. And so I think that's a way for us to kind of keep this flexible, right? Keep this process kind of in a way that, is there, but still obviously we're providing that feedback and information around what stakeholder engagement occurred. And then parties are able to then provide, any additional comments and feedback on the process itself that we can then incorporate going forward.
Okay, well, we'll come. Samrit, go ahead. Does that help?
Yeah, that's helpful. But so I was thinking, so if the company's doing has initiated its distribution system planning? Maybe this is a question still for Jacob. So the company's initiated its distribution system planning exercise, and there would be a point where the next iteration of stakeholder engagement would happen. So forecasting or assumptions, for example, the scenarios. What are the different assumptions that we should include? So I think there should be a notification to stakeholders that this would happen at this time. Like you mentioned, these are the different steps that would be involved. This is when we would be soliciting, stakeholder feedback. You can provide your feedback in writing. There would also be a public conference and stuff like that. Otherwise, how would one know? There would be a comment period on a certain thing. So that, I guess that's what I was a little unclear about. But yeah.
So you're more concerned, if I understand, about how people are going to know that Pepco has started its distribution system planning process.
Right. That, and what are the avenues for, participation? How do they provide feedback? What are the timelines? I don't think there would be endless, periods for, comment period. So something that kind of communicates that.
Okay. All right. I think I'm with you. David, you had your hand up for a while, sir.
Yeah, good morning. Just from PE's perspective, we would, I don't think the details of how we're going to involve stakeholders should be part of regulation. It certainly, to me, it makes more sense for that to be part of the plan that can be tweaked and adjusted as we kind of get into this and see what ways might work best and what ways don't work best. We can make those adjustments. Kind of what Jacob said that, and we certainly agree with that. But our preference would be that not be part of regulation.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Joyce.
Hey, sorry, good morning. I was looking over the October 31st filing, and I didn't see the words discovery in the feedback in any of the steps. It talks about feedback, but it doesn't explicitly say allow for discovery. And I think the commission's order did say discovery. Do you guys have any comments on that? Or if that's just kind of a round of discovery, how granular we should get? I think that there's feedback and then there's discovery. And I guess what I'm asking is, do you, in the joint utility proposal, when you say feedback, do you mean discovery, rounds of discovery from stakeholders? Is that what we're all meaning by feedback in any of the stages?
Yeah, so obviously, we would be looking to file the plan. Obviously, that's going to have and be inclusive of a lot of data and information already, that is there for parties to be able to review. Certainly there is, the DR process that exists, if there are questions that can be, to be asked. But I think the idea is that we're putting the filing out there, obviously throughout all the steps leading up to the filing, certainly very transparent in the process, and the hope, an idea is as much as alignment as possible in all those steps. But I think that kind of creates the opportunity then for, to ask any of those specific questions.
And do you mean the discovery process would be in step 4 or before step 5? Is that what you're envisioning?
So step 4 would be the filing.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously then something that's put out there. And so I guess that is, after that is a, when parties are able to review that information.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Jacob, did you want to follow up on any of the comments Samarit had in terms of, she referenced, how are folks going to be noticed? How are they going to be advised of avenues to participate and potential timeline?
Yeah. Certainly I think existing in the stakeholder or the straw proposal includes talking about like timelines and having some of those things be time bound, right? Recognizing that they're not full windows. I think, something that was, maybe perhaps implicit within the straw proposal, but, if there's interest, we could look at potentially making that explicit, or I know we have deadlines for filing things and timelines and stuff. So, but I think implicit in that is that there would be some level of outreach from the utilities to stakeholders regarding these opportunities to engage. I don't think that's, the intent is that we are just, posting something silently somewhere that is allowing stakeholder engagement and then just, hoping people notice it, right? I think the intent is very much that there's some level of outreach, and obviously that'll, again, continue to evolve and change as to, who exactly that outreach is to, and making sure we're being inclusive of stakeholders and all those different things. But I think certainly the intent is that there's some level of outbound from the utilities to stakeholders, giving them awareness that there is this opportunity for them to engage, being clear around what's the time window, how to engage, all those different things.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Samarit.
Yeah, that's super helpful, Jacob. Thank you. When you were speaking, I was thinking, could a notice to the commission, could that do that? A notice to the commission saying, okay, we've initiated our distribution system planning process. We're looking at, rough outline of like, this is the schedule we're looking at, stakeholder, this is what we're hoping a stakeholder engagement would look like. We accept written comments and, during these phases. That's what I was thinking, but I think it's up to the utilities to determine that.
Jacob, what do you think? I mean, that doesn't sound unreasonable. It's another way you get notice out there that at least the project is, or the planning's underway.
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly take that back, but I think, again, that could be one of those avenues that the utility uses, right? Whether it's a notice to the commission, specific email outreach, posting to a website, some combination of all the above, right?
Agreed.
So I don't think it's an unreasonable, option for one of those things to consider.
Okay. All right. Good. All right. Anyone else? All right. So Jacob, at least with the straw man, can you address that inconsistency that Al raised? Maybe throw in a specific reference to, that parties will be able to conduct discovery, just to specify in step 4 in response to Joyce. And I'm trying to think of anything else. And I mean, I don't think a notice to the commission, in addition to all the other notices you're going to be sending out, is unreasonable. Would you agree? I mean, it's just.
I'll say I can't speak for everyone. Certainly, we can take it
Right.
back. I mean, at least initially it seems reasonable. I'm also not the one that would be involved necessarily in
I understand.
that, so would want to make sure talking with the team that would
All right. Okay, that's fine. And well, why don't you do that? And if you can get something back prior to filing, great. If not, we'll worry about it later. All right. Is there any other questions or concerns on the straw? All right. So Jacob's going to clean that up. And once you get it done, if you could just send it around one more time, and we'll throw it in as an appendix to, or an attachment to, the status report. All right. Samarit. So it doesn't sound like DeAndre's here.
It doesn't sound like that. So I could just provide a brief kind of high level
Okay.
update to our comments. I think we've touched on the transparent stakeholder engagement piece. So I won't touch on that. There was some discussion about benefit cost analysis. I know this is not a distribution system planning is not a rate case, but we're hoping in the alternatives analysis, there would be some kind of a reasonableness demonstration for the selected solution, either through a benefit cost analysis or, I read through a recent DOE guidance, there's at least reasonableness cost analysis or some kind of demonstration that, we also commented that non-wire solutions after a certain threshold should be considered as alternatives. So a demonstration of like why the selected solution is the best overall solution that meets the identified grid need. So we're hoping there would be a demonstration of that. And to address equity, I think distributional equity analysis is, I think, a new thing. There's a guidance from DOE to the extent that that could be incorporated. We recommend that as well in the benefits analysis, in the benefit cost analysis. So we wanted, that's one of the comments that we had and we wanted to add in addition to the stakeholder engagement comment.
Okay. So Samar, are you looking for all that to be decided today, or is this just kind of food for thought as we move forward?
I mean, we could have a conversation about it, but
yeah, I'm happy to discuss it. I just don't know that we're going to be able to the extent we're adding in new things. The timing's not ideal.
Right. I'm not sure, Chuck. I'm not sure if this is a new thing. We've talked about the alternatives analysis, and I think
sure.
And that's what we're thinking this would be part of. I'm assuming the alternatives analysis would include the list of, potential solutions and then why the company selected the solution they decided to incorporate into their plans. So a demonstration of that is what we're hoping. I didn't see it kind of specifically mentioned in that light, so I wanted to add that in. Yeah.
Okay, Jacob, you still there, sir?
Still here.
Don't get too excited. All right, you got any response?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think having additional time to kind of discuss some of these things would be beneficial. Particularly around the piece around the threshold for non-wire solution evaluation. Right. I think it's something we're certainly open to discussing and evaluating, but I think would be beneficial to have more time both to internally discuss then to be able to bring that to the working group. I saw Ethan raise his hand, so I'll let him jump in if he's got a specific point.
Sure. I thought we had talked about alternatives and having some kind of discussion somewhere about why a particular plan was or was not selected. Is that? I know these meetings are starting to run together, but Ethan's on his head.
That's exactly what I was going to point out. We do have step 3, run analysis, identify possible solutions, screen and evaluate, and will include solution analysis, e.g. wires, non-wire solutions, among others. It's all contemplated in here. And then we will report on the solutions. We don't specifically say non-wires. We simply refer to the total umbrella of solutions, wires and non-wires. Through most of the document, but non-wires are contemplated in here. And as far as the threshold, we have submitted some, I know that the joint utilities have submitted the thresholds we use, and I can't I don't remember them off the top of my head, but we do have threshold budgets that are costs that we look at, that we start considering non-wires and wires. So I believe this has all been covered. So
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Dr. Bartlett, you had your hand up, sir.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks. So just a couple of points about this. One, again, I think we're starting to get to slide, and I think maybe this is what Ethan was saying. We started sliding into the technical things. This discussion about cost benefit analysis, I think, is not part of the straw man discussion. It's actually really part of the requirements for what the planning process will do. So when we get to what are the requirements for the discussion, the utilities presentation of their options and their decision about that, cost benefit analysis, I think, has been mentioned in the technical discussions we've had as being part of that. And in fact, I assume, and I hope that the commission is at some point going to, once we get through the process of evaluation of the UCBA that's been developed, that UCBA would be the way to have a standardized approach to looking at relative cost and benefit of different alternatives. And so I think that the commission itself probably is in a position to specify that once they're satisfied with the tool itself. The other thing is that what Summer was describing in terms of the choice and the reason for the choice and the comparative reasons for the choice about a particular solution is also included in the format of the report, the utility report that the utilities are working on now. Remember, it had that 3 components to it, and I think you list them in the in your draft report itself. That is, there's the narrative of what's been done, what's being done. There's the rationale, which is why the things are being done and why they're better than other alternatives. And then there's the data part, which we said will be a little bit light in the first submission, but will be part of the report format. So that thinking is built in, at least at that stage, and maybe it's would be reflected in the other parts as we go through the discussion and the stakeholder and commission discussion of a plan, that we need some sort of touchstone for analyzing those things, and the UCBA would be part of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Samrat, does that help at all?
It does. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Samrat, do you have any other questions or concerns that you want to bring up now?
Not concerns, but I read your report and I kind of, I'm not sure if this is the right time. I did have some comments. We're going to send our written comments, but some, we could probably add in a definition for a utility. I'm not sure if the DSP applies to the small utilities as well. We, in the reliability docket, we look at 40,000, they're only subject to it if they have like 40,000 customers and above.
Right.
So would that be something similar in this case? I would assume so, but I'm not sure. Maybe we could,
right,
could ask clarification on that. I had one other item. There was some discussion. I think there was some comments from OPC about climate study that should be included in. Let me get that 1 second. I don't want to miss.
Well, don't spoil it for me. I'm looking forward to reading all those tonight.
No, just so you know about it. But it's the climate vulnerability assessment should be included in any resilience kind of plan. And we do have, I just wanted to mention that we do have a resilience work group. And that, I think maybe there would be some input from the resilience work group to the DSP work group, so just wanted to mention that, and that would be something that we would include in the comments too.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So that leaves us with metrics. Do we want to talk about it? Do we not want to talk about it? in the report. I just said, go ahead, Dr. Bartlett.
I'm not sure whether I want to talk about it, but the question, and I guess it goes back to Samrit, since DeAndre isn't here. A few weeks ago, there was discussion that there was going to be a submission by staff of an alternate approach to metrics for DSP. And I don't think we've seen that. And I mean, that would sort of be an important basis for any discussion that we have.
Right.
Summer, do you know the status of that?
Yes, so there's no specific matrix. I think, at least I don't really consider it as a matrix, like the stakeholder engagement plan. I think it's a plan that could be part of the plan itself, or a filing requirement. Any specific
No. Can I just interrupt? I'm sorry.
Right.
We were talking about metrics, and DeAndre said a few weeks ago that staff was preparing an alternate approach, an alternate set of metrics for DSP that were more closely focused on the DSP process itself and didn't overlap so much with other work group areas and so on. Anyway, there was supposed to be a different approach to the metrics piece that we were going to then look at and consider alongside what we have, which I think Judge McLean has captured in the last section of the report. But that was supposed to be on the table for discussion. And I've been I think we've been waiting for that so that we can have a metrics discussion that is meaningful, but we haven't seen it. And do you know, is it going to happen, or should we just work with what we have?
I think we're going to have to work with what we have. I think DeAndre put together a comment, and I think, Chuck, you sent it around last week. But it's more about aligning whatever matrices to the state policy goals, but he didn't really, I think there was not really a specific matrix suggested. So I just wanted to say that.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Samrit. All right. So with that, we've got essentially just what the utilities had provided in terms of what had been discussed, agreed upon in the previous phase. So do we want to get rid of all of it and worry about it later? Do we want to include just the areas where we agreed, or do we want to try and talk some of these out? It wasn't rhetorical.
Judge, to answer your non-rhetorical question, I'll say, given just, we didn't make much progress on it here, and I know we had sent around kind of what was previously agreed or what some of those previous positions were. I think that was really, I think our intent was to use that as part of a basis to drive some of the additional discussion, right? But obviously, since that additional discussion hasn't happened, I don't know if it makes sense to reflect that in the report. It may make just sense that, just given the time of this short phase, it may be something that needs to be prioritized and focused on in the next phase or something like that.
Music to my ears. Next phase. All right. Go ahead, Samrit.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Jacob. Unfortunately, we just didn't have the time to come up with anything. We would benefit from some time. Yeah, so I would second what Jacob said.
Okay. All right. Somewhere, Mr. Verchinsky his ears. He's clearly not happy if he's watching. Go ahead, Dr. Bartlett.
Yeah, so we're not abandoning the discussion of metrics. We're just sort of saying we're not ready for it yet. But I do think that, in the I think that what Jacob, Ethan, and others did in identifying the ones that were agreed upon, that was helpful. That's useful. That would be a starting point, but I'm not sure anyone's really gone back and looked at it and said what's there, what's not. I thought it was very helpful. Thank you for your sending the sets of indicators that the other working groups, EV and interconnection and others, had done. And I do think that when we look at those, we do see that there are the interconnection group has like 3 pages of detailed indicators that they've identified on specific aspects of the process. And I think that that should remind us that we are probably expected to come up with a recommended set of technical indicators. And we just haven't finished the job yet, but I don't think this meeting is going to be the place to do it. But
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir. Are we actually going to end on a consensus item here? Jacob Auslander, I saw your hand up earlier.
Yeah, thanks, Chuck. I just wanted to sort of third the idea that we could pick up the metrics discussion in more detail in a future phase. I agree that we just sort of ran short of time.
Okay.
This
All
one.
right. Very good. All right. Is there anything else?
Just one clarification again. When are you
Yes,
looking for feedback on the draft report?
Today.
Today? Okay.
Today. And that way, hopefully I can get working on it either tonight or first thing in the morning, and then try and turn it around either Monday, Tuesday at the latest.
Okay.
And I realize Monday's a holiday, but it'll be, I'm sure some folks are working. So, all right. With that, I think.
When do you want our, when do you want our final comments on the status report? We do have some edits we'd like to submit.
No, today, if possible. I'd like them, and then I'd like to, if possible, I'd like to turn it around and have everyone have a second bite at the apple, because I guess I didn't mean to commingle things, as Al had noted. So I have some, maybe switching some things around. So I want everybody to be able to see what I've done.
I'm getting people are like, add it to the list. We have several filings going in today. We will probably just submit in the second round, since we haven't actually had a full meeting on what we've written yet.
Okay.
So
All right.
we'll do one single bite at the apple.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right.
All right. All right. Thanks I appreciate the heads up. It'll probably be a quick turnaround that I'll ask for, probably no later than close of business Wednesday. That'll give me a day to sync everything up, and then Friday to make it pretty.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have the energy storage program, the DSP CSNA report coming in on the 15th. All of us who are working on this are all trying to make sure we're on the same page all over the place right now.
No, I get it. And I appreciate your time, and I realize everybody's getting pulled in a lot of different directions right now. So, all right. So with that, I'll look forward to your comments, and like I said, I'll try and get a turnaround either Monday, Tuesday morning at the absolute latest. All right. With that, thank you again for all your participation during phase 2A, and we'll see where we go from here. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Judge. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.